Welcome to the Prince of All panels too. Like I said a few minutes ago, we're supposed to be Horikawa. We're going to make history with 4 Vegetas, but we're still making history because this is, as of today, the first and possibly last time we're going to have a panel ever. We're going to see one with the American or the English, well, 2 of them speak English, the American, Canadian, and Mexican/Latin American dub actors who play Vegeta together on here, talking to y'all for the first time. Maybe last, maybe not, we'll see. So we might as well bring them out right now. Are y'all ready to see Vegeta? Are you ready to see another Vegeta and another? If you include Team 4-Star and Prince Vegeta, JB, we could have had 6 Vegetas here. That's a lot of Vegetas. Not enough for her, but plenty. All right, folks, without any further ado, let's bring him out first. He is the first man that my ears heard play Vegeta back in 1996. The inventor of Over 9000 and a guy whose wrath you will not escape. Please welcome back, after year 1, now here at year 2, from the Ocean Dub, Mr. Brian Drummond. All right. Yes. Good. How are you? Like I said, throughout the whole weekend, the Ocean Group in Canada, Vancouver, they put food on the plate for us to eat, and this next person took the role and just owned it. You know, the Prince of All Saiyans. He's got quite the resume, and you know, you might also know him as Kuwabara, All Might, Piccolo, Yamcha, the Prince of Vegeta. Well, the Prince of the Saiyans, Vegeta, of course. I screwed that up. Chris Sabat.
Thank you.
Last but not least, the man who has voiced Vegeta for 23 years in Latin America. He, you know, just again, if you grew up on that dub or if you saw it on Telemundo, you heard Insecto, and for some reason in the Latin American dub, Vegeta called people insects all the time. I don't know. Please welcome, folks, damas y caballeros, bienvenido a René Garcia! Vegeta is probably the most popular character in Dragon Ball. We're going to start over there and move over here with Brian, Chris, Renee. Why is Vegeta so damn popular? And why, well, let's just go with that one. Why is Vegeta so damn popular, in your opinion?
Come on, because he's so damn cute. You know, he's got just a phenomenal story arc. And to me, performance and things that I love to view are all about story. And Vegeta's story is amazing. He goes through so many ups and downs, and that's what we go through in life, so we can relate. Maybe not the mass murder part can we relate to so much, but we can relate to so many other aspects of his life. Love, hate, you know, greed, and everything, and he's open to change, which we should all be as well. So, and look at those buns, come on.
I think what's great about Vegeta is that a lot of people, when they were growing up, they were like indoctrinated to believe that Goku was the best character. And everyone as a kid, they're like, well, he's the main character, he's on the posters, he's the best character. And I love the fact that all of you as adults have come to realize that Vegeta is actually the best character. And I I've joked before with Sean about how Vegeta may have been based on somebody that perhaps bullied Akira Toriyama in school. Someone he respected, but at the same time never wants him to actually be the winner. But there's something about you just keep rooting for Vegeta, even though he never ends up getting the ultimate win. He has won our appreciation though. He's become a better person. He's become a father. He's become a family man. And in Super now, he's like a comic relief character sometimes. So yeah, I think people really can appreciate kind of a dude who's just willing to kind of adapt to the situation, you know?
Yeah, it's true. He's the most human character of all the Dragon Ball characters, I think. Because of what Brian said about this development of the character. The sacrifice in the Majin Buu saga, and the family thing. I agree. Can I say something in Spanish for the Latin audience?
Yes.
For the Latin audience. ¿Cómo están, insectos?
Do you know, my first experience in hearing any of the other voices on the show actually was the Spanish dub. Because at that time, we were unable to get the Japanese version of it. Funimation was not, I guess it got lost on a boat somewhere. And they're like, we need to start dubbing the show. So we had the Spanish version. We weren't able to reference it all the time because we didn't have the technology back then to actually play both versions of it at the same time. I have no idea why, but for whatever reason we couldn't hear it. But whenever we were converting the episodes, I would have to listen to them as they were going through, and I always heard your voices on it. So
okay.
I heard your voice before
I didn't know that.
I did. I heard your voice many times before I heard Ryo Horikawa's voice. So.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
And which one do you prefer?
Since he's not here, I was. Oh, it's hard to play favorites. I mean, we've got all of North America covered here. So I guess.
I had to come up with a voice all on my own. I got to hear nothing, so these guys, I don't know.
So you didn't hear Horikawa at all?
No, well, this is back in VHS. This is
95.
They didn't play anything for us, so I had no clue what Ryo sounded like at all. Nothing. We just saw the visuals, and I was just doing my own thing, whatever that was at the time.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard Ryo's voice was on the first video game recording we ever did.
Yeah.
So that was it for us. I got to know him later, and he's just an awesome dude. I wish he could be here now.
Yeah.
It's so
He's awesome.
I was very excited to meet him, but
Renee, did you hear Ryo's voice when you first started? Like, what information?
yes,
did you get about the character?
we do the comic with the Japanese version. So it was weird because Japanese is a very different language from Spanish. So when a Japanese guy in the series said, I don't know, whatever, the finest flash or hello or whatever, they go like, and you have to say just hello. So it was very, very hard to sync the voice with that.
May I ask, when you were dubbing it, would you record over the other language voice? Like, would they play the Japanese voice and you would dub on top of it with the Japanese voice? Or would you reference it first and then they would play it silently and you would do it?
No, we reference all the time with the language. In the headphones.
Wow.
We heard the
You were lucky because I, like Brian, like when we were working on that show, we never got the references. We recorded all of Dragon Ball Z to silence. We didn't even have the music and sound effects, so we were just in a vacuum.
That's hard.
It was hard.
Damn funny.
Because dubbing.
Well, it was a strip mall in a
is,
bank, wasn't it? Where you
Yeah, it was very small. Yeah.
Dubbing is in grand part a rhythm thing. I mean, we follow the rhythm of the actors, mostly in English. I made a voice of a lot of actors, not only in animes, but in live action, like Ben Affleck and Keanu Reeves and Michael Keaton and so on. So for us to hear the rhythm of the actors is very important. because we follow them actually, and we follow the process. No, it's basic for us.
Yeah, the problem with following the Japanese voice is because their voice doesn't necessarily match the picture, right?
Never.
So that's the hardest part, because when you're dubbing over the Japanese, they always have one flap at the beginning that stops, and then the rest of the line. So that's why there was always like, hey, I'm going to say the rest of my line now, or whatever it is.
It's hard.
So, we all love Vegeta, right? That's why y'all are here, right? Y'all, look, Vegeta's made some pretty boneheaded decisions in the series. He let Cell become perfect. He got selfish and allowed Majin Buu to be unleashed, and so on and so forth. What do you think is the most boneheaded decision Vegeta's ever made in the franchise?
Underestimating Goku.
Letting Yamcha hang out at Bulma's place too often.
Yamcha made that mistake.
How long after Yamcha and Bulma dated, he still seemed to live at Capsule Corps or something like that? I swear, Bulma, I'm gonna move out soon, I promise. But now she kicked him out. Have you noticed in Super? Like, have you noticed? I don't know if you ever get to see Yamcha's scenes, but like, he is by himself a lot in a really crappy apartment that has like cracks in the walls and stuff like that. I mean, he has a penthouse because he has like multiple windows worth of house, but it's really sad. He lives there with his cat and a pink bed and one table that has one potted plant on it. That's all he has in this great place. Notice it next time you see Yamcha.
It's true. But the saddest character on Dragon Ball is Krillin. He dies every time. Yeah.
I think even Akira Toriyama knew that Yamcha is the worst character.
They say Akira Toriyama hates Vegeta. You think so?
I don't think so.
No.
He in the past he said he wasn't a huge fan, but recently, the way it's been written, the stuff he's gotten, I think he loves him now. It's the Goku and Vegeta show. What happened to go on?
Yeah. He wore that green tracksuit, it was all over.
The motion. So, we know that the Latin American fandom is rabid. And they love this, right? I want y'all to share some crazy fan stories of your time. Without obviously giving away any real names, we don't want to incriminate anybody, but any crazy or funny fan stories throughout your years of voicing this character. René, Chris.
Well, I'll jump in quickly because it was way back. My very first convention I was ever invited to, and it might have been when the show had originally moved, so I didn't even know it was anything. I was invited to a tiny convention in the Boston area. Some kid stole some of his dad's money to put it on, I think. Managed to find a couple bucks to fly me out there, and I showed up at a hotel with maybe 200 people. It was very interesting, and when I knew that it was something, I was pulled out of a dinner event, and someone said, you have to come outside. There's a girl here, maybe it was 18 or so, that has to leave because she's only allowed to be here for the day. And I'm at this con. Most people are just being cool about meeting me. And as I left, she was most excited because of Dragon Ball Z. And I came out of this event because she had to go home, and she was literally shaking and vibrating when I came up towards her and started to cry. And I was like, what did you do? What happened? Am I that ugly? What? And she was like, and had to get a handler come to help her. We thought she was going to pass out. And then she just talked about Dragon Ball Z and how much she loved the show. I still remember that moment and going back into the room going, man, this show is weird. It's got some crazy fans. And of course, that was when it was nothing. Now it's all you amazing people. So I will never forget that moment of meeting that girl who was so excited.
Oh, do you have one? Do you have a good one?
I have a lot.
Let's hear some
American stories. These are the ones I want.
Yeah, those are the ones, I would love to hear it. It's crazy.
I'm going to try to say it in English. We were at the Panama airport. So we were about to leave on a plane. We were on to take a plane to take us to Mexico. We're on a scale, how do you say it in English?
A luxury private jet.
A luxury private jet. And we were on the line just to get the plane, and some police officer from the airport came to us and say, "Oh, you're the voices of the Dragon Ball," and we say, "Yeah. Come with me, please." And we said, "But the plane is about to come with me, please." I said, "Okay." So we went with her. It was a woman officer. So she took us to the labyrinth into the Panama airport. The doors were open and open and open, and the last one opens, and we saw a sign, a big sign, who says Interpol. You know, Interpol is the... And I said to Mario, "You bring something with you?" from Colombia? And the officers were there, and they said, "Hey, take a picture with us." And we said, "But the plane is about to leave." And they say, "That plane is not gonna leave if we say it's not gonna leave." Okay.
That's
So,
terrifying.
That's terrifying. And we asked them, how do you know? We were looking at the security cameras of the airport. We saw you, and I said, "Well, that's the story."
I've always wondered, I've sometimes wondered if there's some sort of weird apocalyptic event and we go into this like martial law type of thing in America, and my skill set will be completely useless because all I know how to do is talk really pretty. So I just imagine myself having to find the protection of somebody who was once a Dragon Ball Z fan back when electricity was around. And it would seem luxurious, but he's like, "Hey, just come out here and do the Vegeta voice thing, bro. Just think about a flash. Find a flash! Okay, go back to your room, man. Tomorrow." But the weirdest fan thing I had was I was coming out of a hotel room, a hotel in Chicago, and I saw this guy who I thought was like the valet or something like that. He goes, "Did you need a car?" I go, yeah, well, actually we did. He said, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Gino's East or something." He goes, "Sir, follow me." So he points out in a black SUV. We get in the black SUV, and then he gets in the car, and he starts driving. And I go, "Whoa, actually, are you an Uber driver?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I used to be, man." I was like, "Well, what are you now? What are you doing? Where are we going?" He goes, "You're going to Gino's East, right?" I'm like, yeah. And then he goes, "You guys want a beer?" I'm like, "Wait, what is happening here?" And then as I was like, no, that's okay. He's like, "Seriously, I'll get one." I look up on the screen, and there's like a Dragon Ball Z video, like one of the Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F or something playing, like from a weird angle, like as if it was recorded from the second seat in the theater or something like that.
Oh my God.
I was like, "Are you a Dragon Ball Z fan?" He's like, "Yeah, hold on 1 second." He stops the car, and he goes, "You've got to call my daughter. You've got to call my daughter." Like, "Are you serious? Did you just kidnap us?" And he's like, "She really wants to get into voice acting and stuff like that. Can you give me some tips?" I'm like, "Oh my God, can you please get to the restaurant?" And I paid him. I did actually pay him just to get out of the car. And he ended up dropping us off at the wrong place. I don't even think if he knew the restaurant I was talking about. But that was by far the weirdest, yeah. Kidnapping, yeah. What are you doing tonight, somebody?
What is your favorite Vegeta moment with Bulma?
Well, that's easy.
Here we go.
René,
We can
Chris,
say that.
Ryan.
We can?
Well, what are you talking about? Maybe the last
Are we allowed to say
scenes that were edited out. I don't know. So when they were making the trunks or something, or I think most people would agree with me that in Dragon Ball Super, probably the best part is when, or it could have been in the movie, when Bulma gets slapped by Beerus.
Yeah, that's a favorite.
What did he yell in Spanish?
In Spanish, he yells something like, "Nadie toca a mi Bulma!"
That's my Bulma!
I didn't even record Dragon Ball Super, and I have that shirt. I have that shirt. No, that's my Bulma shirt.
Oh,
Brian, can I hear you do it? I know you didn't do it in the show, but can you do it my Bulma?
Well, of course, how would I say it? That's my Bulma!
You know, René, something we did in the English American dub of the show is that there's a, do you know in Super when they get the copy Vegeta section, instead of playing the copy, I actually called Brian, and Brian played copy Vegeta, so I'm sure you're all aware of that,
Of course!
I did the jelly.
the purple version of it. Yeah.
Okay.
One guy, someone called him Jello Vegeta or something today.
Are you gonna do it right now?
I'm gonna do it right now.
No. I mean, the part of the two of you doing the copy and
Do it!
All I remember is like rooting, like Vegeta at that moment is having, he's having a very hard time deciding who he wants to win because he wants to root for himself, but at the same time he doesn't want to die because he's disappearing like Marty McFly or something like that. And he has a pacifier.
Yes.
I just remembered hearing his first words that came out of his mouth when he was recording with us remotely, and it just felt so good to hear Drummond's voice again, man. I know we talked about this last year, but it's so good to see you once a year.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to help a terrible filler episode be interesting.
You made it better, I think. I think you made it better.
Thank you.
So, in Dragon Ball Z, there's this kind of symbolism where when Vegeta shows up, he's got, the Saiyan armor, and then as the series progressed, he wears less and less armor. Like in the Frieza saga, he had the white armor, then he had like no strap, or the strap without the shoulders. Then the Buu arc, he's got all blue. And that's supposedly symbolic of the fact that he's shedding away his past and becoming a new man. And you know how Toriyama is.
Really?
This is the guy who knows.
Really?
Yeah, he knows all this.
So, where do we go with Vegeta from here? He doesn't hate Kakarot anymore. He's okay with fusing now after Broly. He has a daughter. Where do we go from here with the character? What do you think?
Are you talking about what he's going to wear? Like how literally wear that? Is he going to be a Speedo, like a Technicolor dish?
Could be. With the fan ask, I don't know if it's the case with you, but sometimes the fans ask questions like, do you remember in the chapter number 182 at the 12th minute with 25 seconds when you said that? What do you mean? I mean, what do you feel? And I said, I don't know. I don't even know what was the chapter.
Yeah, people get very, very specific.
Very specific.
I go, what's your favorite quote? I go, oh, you tell me yours because I don't want to ruin it sometimes. So.
Well, you don't have this word in English, insect. You never say that in English. Because in Spanish, insecto is the quote of Vegeta. And it wasn't on the script. I invented it. Because the director, Gloria Rocha, she said to me, you have to say something to insult the villains, something that really, and I said, stupid, no, this is for kids. She didn't know that it's for kids, no, imbecile, no, something. I said, what? Insect, insecto in Spanish. Okay, yes. And that's the signature of Vegeta in Spanish.
That's awesome.
This is showing some ignorance on the mind about kind of how your dub was handled. But was the goal when you were recording Dragon Ball Z, 23 years ago, was the goal for it to be kind of for a younger audience, where you? We
didn't know at the time. We didn't know it's gonna be what it is now. This phenomenon. We just do it like not any other job. we were making so many animes and so many other things, and we didn't know. I mean, so we thought it was just a cartoon. Huh?
Yeah.
No, we did it with very passion, and it was our job. But we didn't know it's gonna be what it is now. This huge international thing.
Yeah. We knew it was for little guys because clearly when we started 25 years ago, everything you had to say, it had to be very PC. They're drawing like dirt over Gohan's little bare bum and stuff like that, and covering up all the blood is brown, and we would wonder, and it's like, well, that's for, you know, a YTV or Cartoon Network, it's for kids after school, under 10 kind of thing, and I was like, okay. So we had to come up with new ways to say things. We couldn't say hell. I mean, and sometimes it was still left in the scripts, and I would just miss it, and it's like, you know, we're gonna blast you to hell, and then I'm like, oh, no, Brian, we can't, we got another dimension, we can't say that, we can't say hell. Redo it.
You have that thing here. I mean, you ban words from the dubbing.
They don't necessarily ban them, but in the earlier versions that we did, especially, and we still do some of these versions for like the Southeast Asia dub of it, where they must have this group of the most PC people in the world that are all meet in this one room and decide what words are bad. Like you can't call anything an idiot, you can't call it dumb, anything you wouldn't want your kid, like a 6-year-old saying to another 6-year-old, I guess.
Yeah.
We have to do at least a version of it. Not everybody sees that version, but
Yeah, and that was most of what we had to do.
I mean, back when you guys first started, like the whole concept was this has got to be successful for children.
For children, yeah, that's what it was for. This group was not who they were in this show for.
So, I guess in a way they were
kids
10 years
We
ago.
were kids back
They
then.
were
though.
children.
We were kids back then, though.
You were kids back then,
We were
yeah.
kids back then. Yeah. So yeah, that's the Y7 version. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when you record that, like you have to double the lines. Like you have to do a line like, "I'm gonna kill you." Then right after you say, "I'm gonna defeat you" or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you have a copy of it in case you have to send it out for the super clean, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we usually say that like once more for the children, please.
That's right.
Oh, I'm super jealous to have not had an opportunity to be able to, you know, do you guys get to swear? Swear at all or no?
Oh, we've got to, yeah.
Yeah.
We've
So
got
you just want to say kill and hell and swear and just really like, because Vegeta's a visceral guy, but to have to sort of soften up the words, it was a difficult thing as an actor to go, I just want to, oh no, you can't do that. You have to say, you dummy!
Yeah, exactly.
You dum-dum!
That's how it was, yeah.
So we got kakra, you fool! We did, fool? Like that's, I love insecto!
But wait,
So
so
in one occasion I was dubbing Romeo and Juliet version for Disney. Disney was the producer, well, ABC or whatever. It was Romeo and Juliet, and I was dubbing Paul Giamatti in Spanish. He was the priest of Romeo and Juliet. And all the time he said, oh my God, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, whatever. And for Disney, you cannot say any religious word. Yeah, but it was Shakespeare. And I said to the people in the studio, you want me to change the words that Shakespeare wrote? And they say, yes. And I was, what?
I praise thee, son of gosh.
Exactly.
I have a question. But you, Brian, okay, so for those who don't know, there is an ocean dub of Kai, and it's vanished off the face of the earth. But, so when you did the ocean dub of Kai, it was still censored?
No, and for my ocean dub of Kai, we did get to say hell and things like that. Yeah,
That's the one I want to hear.
yeah.
Brian's dub
It's a
Unleashed.
vaulted ocean somewhere. I don't know what's up with distribution or something like that. I have no clue. We did the whole thing.
So,
I-
question for
Yeah.
you and Chris. When you guys came back to do Kai, now, because when you first came in, right, you didn't really know what Vegeta's fate was. Now that you know that he eventually becomes a good guy, a family man,
Yeah.
when you came back to do Kai, knowing that, did it change the way you perform the character?
Not really. What changed was my voice had probably changed a little bit. It was a little deeper, so I didn't pitch it quite as high. And I probably didn't put, because when that came back, I was on a lot of other shows at that time. When I first started, I was only doing a couple shows a week. I was doing, like I said, G.I. Joe was my first series in 1994, and then in 95, I was doing Dragon Ball Z. So I didn't have a lot of stuff. So when I went in there and screamed, I just blew my guts out and was like, yeah, because I didn't have any other work that week. It didn't matter. I was on a lot of shows when they came back and they said they were doing Kai. So even when they called me, I was like, you gotta book me on a Friday because I need a weekend. Like, I'm not doing any Dragon Ball on Monday through Thursday. I'm on other stuff. I'll only do Dragon Ball on Friday. And I still didn't push my voice the way I did before. So I hope it won't be disappointing to hear that when they do hear it, it won't be the kind of visceral, insane, blood-curdling stuff that I did in the original 50, 60 episodes.
I kind of noticed that even Ryo Horikawa was holding back a little bit in Kai as well. I don't know if you all noticed it, because his screams in Dragon Ball Z were intense, and his screams in Super are phenomenal. It's like he's almost gotten way better over the years, like as an actor too. He's constantly improving. But I did notice in Kai, he was a little bit more reserved. Did you notice that his voice was kind of like a little bit more than normal? So
yeah. And you say the screams in Dragon Ball. It's hard to do that because they scream like for 2 or 3 minutes sometimes.
When you have a lot of other shows to do, you are thinking as you're doing it, I am going to get fired tomorrow from this Ford commercial I have because I auditioned last week, sounded great. I just did a Dragon Ball episode, and my voice is completely different. So you were thinking a whole different thing while you're doing that kind of work.
It's hard to do the screaming.
by far, though, I think it's the most difficult show I've ever worked on and still continue to work on.
Wow. So what we're gonna do is, if you have a VIP badge, line up by the microphone over here. You must show your badge to ask the question to Vegeta, Vegeta, or Vegeta. So, but they also have a character, so
You must.
line them up, line them up.
We're all like
It doesn't work. Turn it on.
Turn it on!
Test it. Huh? The battery's out.
This is theater. I don't need a mic.
Okay.
Why don't you give them yours?
Hey, it's a Dragon Ball panel. Let's scream them out.
Trust you. Show you how it feels.
Thank you.
I don't know.
You want to do it together?
At the same time?
Yeah, please. If possible, please.
All right.
Oh, thank you so
Okay,
much.
we're gonna
Okay,
try it.
come on. We're not gonna move because we
I'm
haven't
gonna have
had
to
time here.
follow you guys. All right.
This could have been the end, but we'll do it now.
Triple Gallic gun, first time ever attempted.
Sorry for destroying the people in the front.
Sorry, insectos.
All right, good evening, you guys. First of all, I just want to say thank y'all for coming out here, taking your time and, expressing yourself with us. And I'm Joseph Buffington from Atlanta, Georgia, and just something simple. What was the most memorable moment that you can remember recording any part within Dragon Ball or any part that you ever recorded, period?
When we get paid for it.
Yeah, we keep looking at you. That's
Most memorable part of any memorable moment. You know what? It's not. I will go outside of Dragon Ball Z, just because I've worked on a lot of other shows. But when I showed up to work on Inspector Gadget with Maurice LaMarche, Pinky and the Brain, he plays the Brain. Great actor. But we did a new revamp version a number of years ago, and I was cast as the new Dr. Claw. So the moment I was in a room with Mo LaMarche, he was playing Inspector Gadget, and I got to do the voice of Dr. Claw, which I grew up watching as a kid. That was like really surreal. I was like, what is happening to me? So it was amazing. That was fun.
Yeah. Maurice LaMarche, that's a guy I think that every single voice person gets nervous around. Like, he's the nicest person ever, but he's just so damn talented. He's so freaking good.
Amazing actor.
That was for all three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question, or do you want to answer?
Yes, when we get paid, it's good.
Yeah, when we get paid, I forgot that one. That is my favorite part of life.
You guys got paid. I feel like I got cheated. Man, when we first got to do some new Dragon Ball material that wasn't Kai, that wasn't Dragon Ball Z, the first time we actually got to do like a modern Dragon Ball Z movie, that was probably like Battle of Gods. That was like a really special time because we all got to kind of come out of the woodwork and do our thing again. It was awesome.
That is cool.
And I think Broly is maybe the the best of the three.
I agree.
No?
Yeah, I agree. Broly is the best
I
movie
think
of
so.
all. And you know why that is? That's because Vegeta's fight in the Broly movie is the best fight in the Broly movie, in my opinion.
And Vegeta actually wins.
He does.
Yeah, he does. He won that fight. Next.
Hey, I'm Scott from Australia, and I was just wondering, what's your favorite moment recording Dragon Ball? What was your favorite moment in the booth at recording?
Favorite moment in the booth? Leaving, we usually.
Yeah.
It's like, ding, 6 o'clock. Oh, thank Jesus. Honestly, I will, and I've said, anybody downstairs, these voice actors that said I loved doing the fighting and drag are liars. I could not wait for a fight session. When I showed up, the director, Carl Williams, who directs tons of stuff at Ocean, piles of great director, I'd look at him because I didn't see the scripts in advance, and I'd give him that sort of look when I rolled in. He said, "It's okay, there's no fights today." I'm like, oh. And I was just so happy if he'd say there was no fights, but when there were, he's like, yeah, there's one pretty big one. Leaving was my happiest moment.
Yeah, it was for all three, but
We might not get through all, we do all three for everybody.
You know, we are very lucky to do what we do, and I don't have a favorite moment of anything at all. I mean, all the moments in whatever project it is, I feel lucky. I feel so fortunate to do what I do and living for what I do. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be an actor and be able to do all these characters. I don't know what else to say. Really.
My favorite moments were actually normally not in the booth. I was really lucky that I got to be on the other side of the table a lot because I was directing Dragon Ball Z. And the best thing about it was that I actually got to connect with all of the actors. Like every single person that would come in. The director is the luckiest person because you get to know every single actor and you're connected to all of them. And like I'm sort of like the great grandfather of all actors of Dallas. And but through that process, I got to watch people like Laura Bailey at 18 years old, just like absolutely killing it. Colleen Klinkenbeard is incredible, Travis Willingham, and all these, Eric Vale, who's here this weekend. Those are people that came into, and this, for us in Dallas, it was a miraculous thing when we got an actor who actually was really good from the start. You know, a lot of times in Dallas, we had to train someone to kind of come in and do something, but when someone would come in and they were immediately super strong, like Kent Williams. Chris Ayers, for instance, yes. That's the best part. So I think really directing the show was actually far more rewarding than any of the screaming I had to do in it, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Wait.
As a kid, I'd always try to do Kamehameha, turn Super Saiyan, Final Flash. When you guys are doing your lines, did you ever take the stance or do the motions for Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't do the whole thing. I don't like crouch down or do anything like. But when your job is to watch something and mimic it, I think just by instinct, a lot of the times you kind of make hand gestures or movements. I don't know about you, but I move around. I don't do like when I'm fighting. I'm not like pushing. But I am in some sort of pose usually when I'm doing it. I don't know.
The thing is, you can't do it because of the mic you have in front of you. If you move so much, it's gonna be useless because your voice has to be very, very clear. So if you hit the table or whatever, it's gonna be on the recording. So you can't do a lot of movement.
Yeah, there's not a lot of you have to be about here. So if you come off the mic while you're fighting, then all of a sudden sound is a little bit different. That's what will happen in recording. So you're limited. You might do all kinds of this, but your hand's got to stay right where it is.
A lot of times it is a one-handed process.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for Chris. I was just wondering how you feel if the Saiyans got their tails back.
That the Saiyans got their tails back?
Like if they did, like I don't know. But
Oh,
just, like, how you feel about that?
The thing I would be the most happy about is that like maybe like Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta would finally be canon. Because I don't know about you, but like I love that form of Vegeta so much. Like, it's just such a cool looking form where he has like kind of the hairy arms and the tail and all that stuff. Like I'd be all about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hope Funimation listening.
Hi,
You go ahead and I'll ask them.
this is for Chris. What was the most taxing session you've ever recorded in the booth?
Wow. I mean, all of them are so taxing. It was probably all the original Dragon Ball Z sessions were the worst because Kai fixed a lot of the stuff that was the absolute worst. Because when I found out we were going to record Kai again, I like you we were really busy working on a lot of shows, and it's like if we're going to have to scream like we did on the first one, this is going to be a lot of trouble. But Kai did a really good job of like screaming and then cutting away and then cutting back and then it was over. Yeah. But in the original version, it'd be like, ha! And they cut away and you stop and then it comes back and you're supposed to still be screaming and you have to do it again. So yeah, the long power-ups, long screams into really big stuff, that's always the hardest thing.
Thanks. Love you
Sure.
guys.
Thanks.
Quick question for Chris and Renee. So which do you like more, blue or 4?
Four.
I don't know.
Or God, because in the movie, every time I went to the movie, when Vegeta went God, everybody clapped.
Yeah.
That's like one of the biggest moments in the movie. The fire aura, that was a good one too.
I think God is it. It's the best.
I mean, God, like visually, I think that Super Saiyan 4 is such a punk rock look for Vegeta. I think it's really neat. But I mean, Vegeta does deserve to be a god. We just haven't established exactly what that means just yet. Like, we'll see.
Go for it.
Okay, this one's for Chris. What do you think is your favorite thing about Vegeta and Bulma's relationship?
I like the fact that it was actually defined as to why Saiyan men pick the women that they pick in Dragon Ball Super. Do you remember that when they're like, Saiyans always pick strong women? Of course we do. I like the fact that Vegeta is showing a lot of deference to Bulma now. Like he'll make a decision, then I'll look over and check and see if Bulma's okay with it now. Whereas before he's just, shut up woman and bring me a dry cloth or whatever. Yeah, I love the fact that they really are acting like a married couple now.
Thank you.
This is a question for Chris. It's not Dragon Ball related, but I've always wanted to know why you named your studio Okatron 5000.
That is a good question. Thank you. I can answer it pretty quickly because other people have asked me that before. When I was in college a billion years ago, there was this thing that popped up called the internet, and then you were allowed to pick an email address. And I was trying to be, I want to be Chris at yahoo.com, and that wasn't going to work because like 900,000 people had already chosen that. So I was trying to figure out what my name was going to be, what the name was going to be, and I couldn't think of a good name for Yahoo. And my roommate came in, and we had just eaten some soul food that afternoon, and it was like, that was really good food. I'm like, yeah, I need to eat more okra. And then I realized, oh, that's a really good name. I mean, eat more okra at yahoo.com. So okra became like this word, and I would use it like in all of my screen names and stuff like that. And then so when I opened Okratron 5000, okra means really nothing. It's just a word that kind of like popped up out of nowhere. But then Tron is, I've always had this, I thought it was always really funny that you could put the word Tron or omatic at the end of any word to give it technological significance. Like, this is just a bottle, but if it's called the Bottletron, it's a hell of a lot cooler, right? And I was also obsessed with the year 2000, because when I was a kid, I had this book called The Kid's Whole Future Catalog, and it was told us exactly what the year 2000 was going to be like. It didn't turn out to be anything like that at all. But there were a lot of laundry mats and stuff that called themselves Laundromat 2000 because that was supposed to be a futuristic theme. But by the time we got to the year 2000, 2000 sounded pretty dated at that point. And so I gave our studio the name 5000 to give it like an extra 3,000 years of longevity.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question for Chris. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I'm pretty sure everyone here wants to hear about it, but I really liked the Broly movie with the Saiyan origins, like showing King Vegeta's palace. You did awesome as King Vegeta. I was wondering, what would you say if Japan would make a movie on Vegeta's childhood and they would show Vegeta's mother? And
yes.
I would love to see that movie. How would you feel about doing a movie like that?
The historical stuff in the newest movie, the stuff about the Saiyan origins and King Vegeta, that was my favorite part of the movie. I mean, I love the Broly stuff, but good Lord, man, I love seeing Paragus and I love seeing King Vegeta and how prideful he was. And are you also the voice of King Vegeta in the Spanish dub?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I
don't know why.
Didn't want to presume, but.
Are you the voice in?
Yeah, I am, because they were cheap. They were really cheap. they used me for everything because I was less expensive. But, and I love, the part, I think that my favorite part of the Broly movie is when, Bardock and Guinea, his wife, are running away, and he's saying, I want to save my son. And she's like, why do you even care? Saying men don't care at all about their children. He goes, I've spent my entire life destroying. I just want to save something for once. And that, for the first time, made me feel like Goku isn't just the dumb hero that fell on his head. He might have had this predestiny, because of this kindness that was injected into him from his father, Bardock. That was the first sign that there was this change in the Saiyan attitude. And his father's kindness was somehow injected into Goku as he flew away in that pod, and that made me feel a lot better about the character of Goku. That he's just, I've always been bothered by the fact that Goku's nice because he was dropped on his head as a child. That's it. But this, I think, adds something to it. So anything else that involves the Saiyan history, I would love to know who Vegeta's mother was. She probably wasn't very well treated, but I would love to see more of that.
And if I could name a personality for the Queen, she would have a combination of Chi-Chi and Bulma's personalities.
I would bet she would.
Thank you. And we also found out that this is new information. He's Vegeta the Fourth.
Yes.
Yes, there's 2 more Vegetas before King Vegeta we may never see. So that's brand new information. Go.
Nice to meet you all. Hello, guys. My question is for Brian. If you had a real-life Capsule Corp case with capsules in it, put anything in it, car, paint, misbehaving kid, doesn't have to be
That's the first part.
Oh, if you had a real-life Capsule Corp case,
yes,
that you put anything in,
like a boy capsule.
Yeah. What would you use it for?
If I could put anything in it.
Yeah. Bulma throws tablets down.
misbehaving kid.
Yeah, a whole motorcycle comes out. Like, what would you put in there? A house?
Wow. I always like to get these questions in advance so I can really think up the most amazing things.
That's not my fault.
I know, you throw them up. Oh, if I could put anything in it, just pop out. That's tough, that's tough.
What one thing in your life would you want to keep in your pocket at all times? Like a tiny version that you can have appear at any moment?
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm just about to get a hot tub this summer, so that's a hell of an answer. Portable hot tub. You know, I love travel so much, it would probably be something that if I could just, you know, pull it out and I could hop in a private jet and be like, boom, I'm somewhere else today, boom, I'm in London, boom, I'm in Hawaii. I would be travel related because I'd love to get around and come back here too. This is freaking amazing.
Thank you.
How's it going, guys? My name is Javier. This question's for Chris. And so in the Broly movie, when you guys had the fight between Vegeta and Broly, were you sad that Goku kind of just butt in when you didn't even go Super Saiyan Blue yet? Or were you just like, well, I guess?
I mean, I'm so used to it by now. Goku always butts in, so I was expecting it to happen at some point. I was just really happy that Vegeta's fight was so damn good, though. That it was just the most realistic fighting in his section. Because I tell people I love Vegeta's because it was slow and it was deliberate, and you really could see all of the moves very clearly. And by the time you got to Goku's fight, he's doing like Jedi mind tricks and like making Broly freeze in midair and reading his thoughts or whatever the heck was going on in that scene. Yeah, it just was so bizarre. And then by the time we got to the Gogeta section, it was just the Broly movie on acid. So I really loved Vegeta. Like Vegeta's part was like Vegeta's fight in it was really good. So I was happy for the amount of fighting that he did. Like when I've called Sean to tell him that we were going to work on this movie, he's like, I was telling him about it. He goes, "Well, is Goku the lead in the movie?" I go, "Actually, I think that Goku and Vegeta have an equal amount of time in the movie. It's pretty cool."
Thank you.
Question is for Brian. How far along do you think Vegeta would have been when he was in a hyperbolical time chamber and he refused to train with Trunks? How far along do you think he would have been if he would have trained with him and if he would have ended up being as strong as, if not better, as Team Gohan? How far along do you think
You're getting the hard ones, man.
I'd like to ask this question to the guy who hasn't done much Dragon Ball Z for 25 years. I would be super strong.
Hello?
Wow, that is like so deep. How far along would I be? Man, I would just like to be, he always wanted to be strong enough to kick anybody's ass. That's what I loved about him, is just willingness to get out there and fight. But I don't know, I just want to be stronger than all.
Hello? Oh, okay, it works. One more question.
Thank you. My question is for Brian. Clarification on something like once and for all.
Clarification once and for all.
When you were doing It's Over 9,000, was that what it was given to you, or like did you realize later that was a mistake, and did they tell you to like reread like it's over 8,000, or like how did that happen?
No idea who screwed up that translation. No clue. Might have been Corlett down there. Ian was one of the first writers on the show. For those who don't know, one of the Gokus down there, he was one of the original writers on the show. Ian and Terry Klassen, who played Krillin. Those guys wrote a lot of that original stuff, tried to take the direct translation and just make it more sound like humans would say it. And I only saw that one line of dialogue. It didn't mean much more than any of the other lines to me. All I know was that, as bizarre as a lot of it is, that so many things just end in crazy open mouths, and I'm sure I was probably asked by Carl to do it 10 times, because I would never have said it that way if it was a choice that I was making pre-animation. It would have been definitely something like, you know, when Nappa says the line, I would have probably said, "It's over 9,000! And just make it short. But and I'm sure Carl was like, oh, Brian, his mouth is still open for quite a bit. Can you just carry the 9,000 a little bit longer? Okay, how about this? It's over 9,000! Is Brian, his mouth was still open for quite a bit after you stopped, and I can't loop that to make it longer. So if you could just carry it just a bit more than that. Okay, we got a lot to do today though, Carl. No, I know, but just try and carry it a little bit longer. It's over 9,000! No, Brian, it's just a hair longer. I know we don't want to do this, but if you could just make it a little bit longer, we can move on to the next bit. It's not important. No one will even remember this stupid line. So let's just try it in the can and try one more time. It's over 9,000!
And you know, in Spanish we made a mistake because we said it's over 8,000. I don't know why.
You got it right. We made a mistake.
We said it's over 8,000. I don't know why.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for coming. One more question before we close out. First of all, thank you all for being here. Tomorrow, the Ocean Dub and the GT panel will be in this room, so come back for that. Final question. I'm going to start with Brian, then Chris, then Renee. Where do you think your life and career would be without Dragon Ball? Where do you think you'd be? What would you do?
I would still be working on a lot of stuff, to be honest. Yeah, it was very early in my career, and things were really taking off. And because we only did 50 or 60 episodes, and then by the time it came back and we did more for Canada, I was working on a lot of shows. This part of my life would be very different, which is an amazing part of my life. This would probably not exist in the same way at all. And this, honestly, is the fun part. Not screaming, it's over 9,000, but meeting all you guys. So that's what would be very different in my life. But as far as working on shows, I still think I'll be pretty busy because it's a very minute part of the shows that I've done in my career, probably like you guys do. It's a smaller part of what we've done. But this part, too cool. I would have missed out on some crazy fun with you guys.
I have to say, mine's the opposite answer from his, because I probably would have been stuck doing a bunch of radio commercials and just commercial spots, and I may not have ever found any work in the anime and dubbing community if Funimation had taken over and brought it into the Dallas area. And I just happened to be just kind of at the right place at the right time. Like I don't even know what I'd be doing now. Like I have no clue. Like this is something I didn't even expect to be doing for so long. I'm still shocked that you guys are still letting me do this stuff. I have this weird feeling I might be doing this for the rest of my darn life. So it happened to be just like it's amazing. I got the best job you could possibly ever have, and I just happened to get it on the first time out of the box. Like, unbeknownst to me, it took many, many years for me to realize, oh yeah, people actually like this show. Because at the start, when I would go to conventions, they were all like, why'd you change the voices, you jerk? So conventions were quite like this experience. They were a lot different for me. So it took a long time to actually figure out that like this is something that's very important. So I was very, very lucky to get one of the best things my entire life. It's brought my entire livelihood, my studio. I wouldn't have met my wife without it. I probably would have been too scared to have kids. But Vegeta gave me so much strength and power and virility. I don't know. I have no idea where I would be, but it would not be here, and I am so grateful to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
I have to agree with Brian. When we were doing Dragon Ball Z, I started dubbing. Well, I started acting when I was 4 years old. So my entire life I've been an actor. So I started theater and then television and then dubbing. And it's part of my life, as Brian said, with the fans, with the travels to anywhere. I've been in all Latin America, and the fans, let me tell you, are the same. in all over the world. I mean, it's a community, it's a generation, I don't know, but they found a bond, and yes, it's amazing. It's really, really amazing. So that part of my life, it's because of Vegeta en español. And that is wrong. We must say Vegeta, but Geta in Spanish is not a good word. So we left Vegeta. So yeah, but the love of the fans is amazing. This is just amazing, and this phenomenon is it's over 9,000 or beyond. I don't know. Thank you so much.
All right, one more round of applause. Chris Sabat and Garcia.
Hey, I just want to say one quick thing. I'm so happy you're here, but this, like, it's been really special to meet the Mexican cast of this. Like, both.
Thank you so much.
Like, you guys are such great people. I met them yesterday, and they're just the kindest, nicest people, and they're happy to be here, and we're so happy to have you in our country. Thank you.
Adiós.